Hey English 112, Miss Brewer here. Tried to make sure I checked all the links before I logged in to record your video this week, so hopefully there won't be any hiccups. So today is Sunday, and I'm gonna, open up this week on Sunday like I did last week, just for those of you who are ahead of the game and want to get an early start on the next week's work. If you guys got through the first 2 weeks of reading the play in 1 week and doing all of that work and getting your comparative analysis essay written the next week, then I think you're going to be in good shape for the remainder of the course because I don't think it's as hectic as the first 2 weeks were. So the first 2 weeks were like super intense because you had to get a whole bunch of work done to jump into this week or the rest of the course and kind of the APA format and things like that. So if you made it this far, great job. You probably will make it to the end. So good job. This week we're moving away from MLA format. So your MLA format grade, which is 25% of your grade, should be done at this point in time. And the things that comprise that grade are your MLA quiz, your thesis and outline, and your comparative analysis essay. So those three things will compromise that 25%, or compromise? No, that's not the right word. I'm sorry, it's early still for me. Baby time. I'm up all hours of the night. But they will compose your, or make up your grade. Okay. So we're moving into week 3. So you're over halfway done already. It moves so fast, doesn't it? I did try to give you guys the feed. Those of you who turned your thesis and outline in on time got immediate feedback. So hopefully that was helpful. If you didn't turn it in on time, you need to email me so that you get a grade for it. Remember, I will only accept it up to 2 days late. But the feedback was not there for you if it wasn't turned in on time, okay? And make sure that you email me because I've already graded them. So if you turned it in within 2 days, shoot me an email so that I can give you a grade with a late penalty, which is far better than a 0. All right. So now we're into APA format. This is a brand new format of documentation, but a lot of things stay the same between MLA and APA. So all of the things that are just the same, all of your formal academic writing expectations are similar. No personal pronouns, no contractions, don't directly address the reader. Your font stays the same, so Times New Roman, 12-point font. Your margins and your spacing stay the same. So all of that is the same as MLA format, which is, good. We're not learning everything brand new. APA format changes basically the way in which you format some of the writing and the manner in which you document. And basically you're looking at 2 different, schools of thought when it comes to documentation. So MLA focuses more on the title and the author and kind of those types of things. APA is more scientifically based. So this particular style focuses more on date. What is the most recent? That makes it more relevant, okay? So when we do our in-text documentation, which will be next week, you will be focusing on authors and dates more than page numbers and things. Like page numbers are included, but only with direct quotes, and it's a whole thing. We'll talk about it next week. This week, you guys are going to move forward with research. Somebody commented at one point, I thought this was a research class, why are we reading literature, which I thought was funny, but it's an English class, so we always read some piece of literature. Othello is your anchor text, so you will continue to refer to Othello here and there, but that gives you your MLA review at the beginning of the semester, your literary analysis review, and now we're moving into that research portion of the course. And for the research portion of the course, we are going to focus on a social issue that you chose for Othello. So it should be pretty much the social issue that you chose for your comparative analysis essay. I mean, that would be the easiest thing to choose But if you feel like you didn't choose one that you're interested in, or you didn't choose one that you want to use for the remainder of the course, you can go a different direction. But you want to choose a social issue that was present in Othello. Okay, so we're focusing on things like race and racism or racial discrimination. You can go further into that, so you can kind of make it more relevant to today. So you could focus on racial discrimination in the criminal justice system, or you can focus on domestic violence. You can focus on domestic violence in teens or something to that effect. You could focus on bullying, really, if you wanted to, but that's a slippery slope, that particular social issue, so be careful if you choose that. But that does kind of tie into the movie that we watched, Oh, right? Definitely. You can focus on even like gun violence in schools, because that ties back into the O, and ties sort of into violence and things like that into Othello. Just know that you'll need to bridge that gap at the end of the semester, okay? But this week and next week, we're focusing on the social issue in today's society, okay? So you will need to choose one. And that will be your first assignment. Your attendance assignment for Wednesday will be your journal. And your journal is what social issue will you choose for the remainder of the course? Why did you choose it? How is it in Othello? And why do you see it as an issue within our society? The 200 to 300 words is like a basis. Do not write less than that. Don't write me something that's 100 words. You will not get full credit. This is a college course. All right, so make sure you're giving a lot of information in that journal response. And that's the only Wednesday assignment that you have. Okay, so you will do that selection so that on Thursday morning I can jump on and just let you know, yeah, you're approved, or I'll ask you more questions. So do be sure to check on Thursday for my response, because if it's something that you're not approved for, then you don't want to continue to research that. Okay. So, and then after you are approved for your journal topic selection, you guys will be creating an annotated bibliography in APA format. You should have done an annotated bibliography in English 111 in MLA format. So APA format is just a little different. And there's a lot of resources that are here for you to talk about that. So, for your annotated bibliography, you need 7 sources. Now, if you see anything that says 527, that means I didn't get to that to update it. The purposes of this course, you need 7 sources for this assignment, okay? So make sure that you have 7. And your annotated bibliography in APA format is a little bit different, because you will have a title page in APA format, and your title page includes a running head that appears only on your title page. Then it has your information centered in the page with your name, the institution's name, and the date, and that's all that goes on your title page, okay? Then the next page for your annotated bibliography has your abstract. Your header will change for the next page, because the words running head will no longer appear. It will just be whatever the title of your assignment or paper is, okay? So if I chose gun violence in schools, in United States schools or something, that's what I'm going to focus on, then my title page header would say running head. Make sure that it's a capital R and lowercase for the rest, capital H, lowercase for the rest, colon, gun violence in U.S. schools. And then at the end, page number, okay? Number 1. Then the next page, it will just say gun violence in U.S. schools and the page number. I will remove the running head. So you need to go into header and footer, and you need to check the box that says different first page, and you'll create essentially 2 headers, okay? Then you have an abstract on page 2, and that's the only thing that should be on page 2. The abstract should essentially overview the topic, okay, and the articles and what they present on the topic in about a half a page, no more than a half a page, okay, paragraph to a half a page. Remember academic formal writing, no personal pronouns, no contractions. Make sure that your font is proper, your spacing is correct for your abstract, okay? Make sure that it's titled abstract, and check out how to do a header for APA format in your resources here, okay? A heading, I'm sorry, heading, APA formatted heading. Okay. And you have a whole lecture on annotated bibliographies that you need to review. You have a video that I highly suggest you take the time to watch about annotated bibliographies. You have questions and answers about your annotated bibliography, and you have a student example of an annotated bibliography, okay? It's not perfect. Student examples are never perfect. I'm looking at it right now. I can tell you in the header that the page numbers font is incorrect by looking at this, okay? But it's imperative that you can see what an annotation looks like and things like that. This person uses contractions. Don't do that. So it's not perfect. And as a matter of fact, I might update this at some point because this is not a perfect example, but it does show you what the citations look like and things like that, okay? All right, so the second part of your assignments this week is to do the annotated bibliography. What you're going to do is you're going to research, go to the LRC. So let's see, please work, link, yay. So I clicked the link and it worked to go to the LRC database, and I'm in there, and I need to select a database before I go further with my research, okay? Once again, I always suggest NCWise because or NC Live because that's my favorite. So I'm gonna click on that. I'm gonna stick with that. Oh no. Did it update? Okay, my login updated, so that's good. So once I go into NC Live, then in the search bar, I'll type in whatever topic I'm focusing on. So gun violence. I'll put in school gun violence. School gun violence. Again, this is just an example. You guys can choose whatever social issue you want. And I live in the scholarly article column. That is where we live for the purposes of this course, okay? So I'm clicking on scholarly articles, all right? I need to find seven articles that I'm gonna use for my research. 7 articles that I am willing to read in their entirety, which means don't select 7 articles that are 30 pages long. That's a lot of reading in 1 week. You might have 1 or 2 that are longer articles, but make sure that some are, 10, okay? Don't select anything that's 1 page. That's not enough information, okay? Anywhere from, 2 or 3 to 10 is where you want to kind of try to live, 10 to 15. Okay, so let's see what we have. Public health approach, that seems interesting. School neighborhood violence. That seems interesting. I'm going to click on this and see how long this article is. So it's the first article that popped up. It's about gun violence in Boston. So it's probably not going to focus on like mass shootings, which is a great way to look at this. Let's see, how long is it? Yeah, okay, 344 to 360. That's not super long. It's got an abstract. I will read the abstract to make sure that I want to continue using the article, okay? So you read through the abstract. Does it have the information that you want? Research results suggest that between 2012 and 2015, there were 678 shootings. This has some science. It has some specific statistics and data. So I probably want to look into this article if I want to, it says it's a public health approach, so that's interesting, okay? Here's what you do next. You will need to, if you choose to select the article that you're going to read it, you need to download the PDF and save it to your computer. Or if you're working in a library, you can print it out, okay, and have a hard copy, or both. But make sure that you have access to get back to this article later because you're going to use it for the rest of the semester. Then I'm going to tell you the trick, which most of you should know at this point in time. Underneath where it says download PDF on the right-hand side, I'm going to click Cite. And when I click Cite, a citation is going to come up. And it's going to come up in APA format. which is what we're using. So I can literally copy and paste this citation into my assignment and have my citation be correct. Okay? When we look at this citation, you see that it's different than MLA in that you don't have the full person's name, so it's just their last name and first initial. And then the next thing is that date. Super important, okay? That's how I can tell the difference between MLA and APA. Easy, okay? You'll also notice that they don't, in APA format, use quotations and italics and things of that nature. So that's something to remember, okay? So I will copy and paste this. I will make sure I change the font, that it's spaced properly, and that it's in alphabetical order for my annotated bibliography. But your citations are done, so that shouldn't be super difficult. The citations are done for you. Let's talk about the annotation. Your annotation does 3 things. It summarizes, okay? It summarizes the article. So in 1 to 2 sentences, it summarizes what is the purpose, what the article says, okay? It evaluates the credibility of the article. So I evaluate the credibility by stating, the article uses scientific data, facts, studies, so on and so forth. That tells me that it's a credible article. So it evaluates the credibility of the article, and it identifies how the article will be used in my paper without saying, I will use this article to do this, okay? So an effective annotation first summarizes the article. The article covers gun violence in Boston public schools and evaluates the public health danger of this. Whatever, I haven't read the article, so I can't give you a second sentence that gives you specifically what the article does. Then in the next sentence, I'm going to evaluate the credibility. So I will say the article provides specific research from studies, statistics, data about this, and that tells me that you're evaluating the credibility, okay? And then finally, identifying how you're going to use it in your assignment. This article would be used to provide specific data, the effect on public health, whatever that might be, okay? That's how you create your annotation. Your annotations are not exceedingly long. They should not be more than, with the citation and the annotation together, half a page. So you should be able to get 2 sources per page, okay? Approximately. All right, so it's like 5 sentences, 2 to summarize, 1 to 2 for credibility, 1 to 2 for identifying how it will be used. And that's all you're working on with your annotated bib. Okay, so that's your annotation. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let me go back to Moodle and make sure I get everything for you guys. Okay, so your annotated bibliography, which is due on Sunday, your annotated bibliography needs to be in APA format. So it needs to have that title page, it needs to have your abstract. Your annotations need to be in APA format, or your citations need to be in APA format, alphabetical order. They still are hanging indentations for your citations, and your annotation stays within that hanging indent, okay? So it stays lined up with that kind of indent, and then when you get to the next article, you come back out, which you can see that example, in that example. And you need 7 sources. So if it's 7 sources and you're doing 2 sources per page, then you're essentially looking at about 3 to 4 pages. That annotated bibliography is due Sunday night by 11:55. So the only thing you're working on this week is research and your annotated bib. So you're reading all of the articles. And the reason you don't have a whole bunch of assignments this week is because I expect you to read every article. So that's the expectation, is that you are selecting a social issue, you're researching that social issue, and you are reading all of those articles and creating the annotated bibliography. And then you will turn that in at the by Sunday. Next week, we will work on writing a literature review, and you will be using the same articles that you read, but a literature review is very different than the writing that you have done in the past. So I want to give you a week to work on that, all right? Because it is a complete paradigm shift in the way that you write. So we'll talk about that next week. If you guys have questions, as always, you can shoot me an email. Give me 24 to 48 hours to respond. I try to be quick, but sometimes things come up over the summer. So just be aware that, I will get back to you as soon as I can. And best of luck with your research. Make sure you contact me with questions about research as soon as possible. I will be providing feedback on Thursday with approval of your subject, okay? Make sure it's a social issue. Make sure it's in Othello. You will most likely be approved, so don't wait for that approval to start your research. What I may just ask you to do is to narrow, what you're researching or something like that, or ask you some questions in my response. All right, guys, I will check in with you next week. Have a great week.